Streaming now, this is the Wood TV Live Desk.
Good afternoon, everyone. Phil Penarski here with the Wood TV Live Desk. Hope you're all having a dry Friday so far because it may or may not continue up until the evening. Storm Team meteorologist Blake Harms is here to talk about what we could potentially see over the next few hours and even the next couple of days. Blake, we love having you on the Live Desk. Every time you come on, you're fantastic with all of your knowledge. But, you know, when you're coming down with some of these on an impromptu Friday to talk about the weather, it's probably nothing but bad news. But what is the latest with the forecast and what we're going to be seeing across West Michigan?
Yeah, it's a great point, Phil. We do have the chance for some thunderstorms this evening. We've been tracking this potential for several days now. It's starting to come into a bit of better focus. And the good news for us here in West Michigan is that the greatest threat for storms is off to our west. So if you look at the Storm Prediction Center outlook for today, you can see that there's actually the first high risk to be issued anywhere in the country in over 2 years. And there are actually two of them. There's one in place over Iowa and Illinois. The other is down centered around Memphis, parts of Arkansas, Mississippi, and southern Tennessee. The moderate risk now extends up basically to Chicago, includes Indianapolis, St. Louis. Just for some context, down there they're seeing sunshine, temperatures climbing up into the mid-70s. So on days like today, that is fuel for severe thunderstorms. And fortunately, they're expecting some damaging tornadoes in those high-risk areas. And so the worst of the weather is expected to be out that way, but we do have to watch for the potential of some of those storms to hold their strength as they move their way in our direction this evening. The slight risk is in place for areas near and south of I-96, so level 2 out of 5 risk. And then the level 3 out of 5 is for Chicagoland and then far southern Michigan into northern Indiana. So again, the greatest threat is off to our south and our west, but the chance here is not zero either. So we're going to have to watch that closely. The idea is that thunderstorms are going to fire up for us they already are firing up over parts of Missouri, and then they'll eventually work their way here. Now, as they move their way into Michigan, here's a future cast for 5 p.m. tonight. As they move their way in our direction, they'll be moving into less favorable conditions. Question is, is the lack of favorable conditions enough to tear these storms apart, or will they hold some of their strength enough to be severe when they make it here? So that's kind of the big overarching question. We could certainly see a few damaging wind gusts, and then we see a secondary line come through late this evening into the early part of the overnight. So we kind of have 2 rounds of showers and storms. Heavy rain is pretty much a certainty for just about everyone, so some minor flooding is possible, but most everyone will likely hear some rumbles of thunder. There are likely only a few who will experience damaging wind gusts. Can't rule out a few large hailstones or a weak tornado, or a brief tornado, I should say, but those appear to be much lower than the threat for damaging winds at this time.
So the great potential for having some dangerous winds and everything, maybe a little bit lower than the other parts of the country. Yes. You mentioned Memphis and everything, but for those, the big worry that I think a lot of people have is with spring break. People are starting to travel. Maybe they're driving down and really maybe going directly into some of this mess. What are some of the things that they can expect? You mentioned some tornadoes in those higher risk areas.
Yeah, so if you could actually put up the risk for today again across the country. The main concern now is that for folks who are driving south, if you've ever driven to Florida, you know that the route takes you right through Indianapolis, usually through Louisville, down through Nashville. Notice Indianapolis especially under a moderate risk. And so what they're expecting is that as the storms form and move their way off to the east, there will be a high risk for damaging wind gusts. So the timing there looks to be late this evening into the early part of the overnight. So if you're planning on driving through the night, make sure you keep a very close eye on the radar, especially in the Indianapolis area or central Indiana, and really until you get down to Alabama. Once we get past about 1, 2 a.m., that's when a lot of those storms will be moving east of especially Indiana and Kentucky. So the primary concern is for folks who are traveling. Also, folks flying out of Chicago this afternoon and evening, there's certainly a potential for some flight delays or cancellations because of the severe weather. So this is going to be wreaking havoc on not only residents of those areas, but also travelers who are trying to get out of town today.
And when can we kind of expect this to maybe sort of end a little bit, maybe get a little bit of a break? It seems like every weekend, Blake, we're getting some type of crazy weather here.
You are correct. So it looks like the storms will be basically moving out of here by after midnight. We'll start to see them push off to the east. And then at that point, we stay mostly dry. We'll carry the chance for some light rain or perhaps even a few snow showers during the day on Saturday. Saturday's big story will be the cooler temperatures, highs only in the low 40s, and the wind gusts up to 40 to 45 miles per hour. So it's going to be a cool, breezy day on Saturday. But by the time we get to Sunday, we're back up into the low 50s, and Monday features a high close to 60. So it'll be a pretty quick rebound It's just going to be an active day today and one that we're going to keep watching closely.
Right. All right. Awesome, Blake. Well, thank you once again. I wish it was better circumstances, but we're very glad that
Hopefully
we have you.
Someday
Yes.
soon.
Yes. No. Yes. Definitely. Once the summer hits.
Yes.
But like always, we really do appreciate you coming on the live desk. You provide a great bunch of insight into the weather as it's really happening, and I know the rest of the Storm team is going to be handling everything over the next couple of hours, next couple of days, and really whenever there is severe weather. So again, thanks for stopping by today, Blake.
Thank you, Phil. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and I want to thank everybody else for tuning into this latest edition of the Wood TV Live Desk. I'm Phil Pinarski, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.